Welcome to today's Explainer. I am so excited to share this one with you guys. We're diving into a really fascinating source text called The Body Remembers My Father's Quiet Transmission. So let's just jump right in. You know, we usually think of a spiritual awakening as something that happens, after reading a bunch of dense philosophical books, or maybe sitting at the feet of a famous guru, or maybe it's some sudden dramatic cosmic epiphany. But what if it doesn't always start in the mind? What if the actual foundation for profound spiritual awareness is laid down entirely through childhood physical habits? Today, we are going to explore exactly how the physical body acts as the ultimate doorway to the spiritual path. And we're going to do it by unpacking this absolutely incredible true story.
So what if your spiritual awakening started in a simple brown paper folder? Picture this for a second. You're a 6th grade boy, and one day, totally out of the blue, your dad hands you and your brother a mysterious brown folder. Inside, just these sheets of brown paper with carefully hand-drawn illustrations of physical exercises. We're talking stretches, postures, continuous movements. Now, your dad doesn't use any spiritual language here. He's not talking about the inner senses or cosmic ledgers or the Tao. Nope, he just hands over the folder.
And here is the secret he tells you. He claims these exercises come directly from the Air Force. That's the story. It's just a military exercise regimen. And, well, as 6th grade boys do, they completely believed him. No questions asked. So they took these little stick figure drawings and they practiced him, literally every single day. They had absolutely no idea where these movements actually came from, and they definitely didn't know what their ultimate purpose was.
But here's the crazy part. Despite having zero clue what they were actually doing, this daily practice yielded profound, immediate results. The boys kept doing the exercises simply because, well, they just felt incredibly good. The movements made their growing bodies strong. But way beyond the physical, it made their minds remarkably calm. It made their breath perfectly steady. Without a single ounce of philosophical framework, their bodies were just effortlessly absorbing all the benefits of a highly structured physical discipline.
Okay, now I want you to fast forward exactly 20 years. That little boy who got the brown folder, he's a grown man now. He's traveled the world. He's specifically gone to India. He has spent years actively pursuing a deep spiritual path, learning the 5 internal senses, awakening the breath of the universe, and discovering all these ancient postures designed to support the physical body and open up the inner world.
And then, one day, we get the massive 20-year twist. For 2 decades, they thought they were doing Air Force exercises to build strength, right? But the truth? His dad finally confessed that those hand-drawn stick figures were not from the military, at all. Turns out, the father had actually studied with a yoga teacher way back in the early 1960s. Those secret exercises in the folder? Yeah, they were ancient yoga postures. The narrator and his brother had literally been practicing yoga every single day since the 6th grade, completely by accident.
So the really crucial takeaway here is that the father had intentionally planted a seed. When the big secret was finally revealed, everyone just cracked up. The narrator laughed, his brother laughed, their dad laughed. You see, for years, the father couldn't quite figure out why both of his sons were so naturally drawn to the exact same spiritual wavelength. You know, why they both gravitated toward meditation, toward yoga, cosmic awareness, the inner senses. But in that moment of revelation, it all just clicked. It made perfect sense. The dad had planted the seed long before their minds could even comprehend what it was.
This brings us to part 1, Rhythm of a Conscious Home, Building the Foundation.
Because, those secret yoga postures weren't the only thing supporting this journey. To really grasp this explainer, we have to zoom out and look at the broader environment they grew up in. The narrator points out that he was incredibly lucky as a kid. They weren't strictly vegetarian or anything, but they lived in this highly conscious household where wholesome food was just abundant. We're talking fresh vegetables, grains, fruits, poultry, junk food, strictly controlled. And soda pop was this super rare treat reserved literally only for Christmas and Easter. The result of all this? The narrator's body simply thrived. And the best part is, these excellent habits weren't forced on them through strict, boring lectures. They were just effortlessly woven into the very fabric of his childhood.
And right alongside that diet, there was a strict, natural timeline for rest. Bedtime prep consistently began at 7:30 p.m. By 8 o'clock, fast asleep. And in the morning, they woke naturally with the sun. They were essentially living in perfect harmony with the breath of the universe, sleeping with the moon and rising with the dawn. And man, this quiet discipline had a massive impact. The narrator actually notes that in 12 full years of school, he missed maybe a week total. A week. They just hardly ever got sick.
In fact, their mom used to tell the boys, "You can stay up as late as you want." Which sounds incredibly lenient, right? Like a kid's dream. But she only said it because she knew their internal clocks were so perfectly set. By the time she came in to kiss them goodnight, they were already deeply asleep before she even reached the bedroom door. Their bodies were so perfectly attuned to this natural rhythm that external enforcement just wasn't even necessary.
Moving on to Part 2, Awakening the Spiritual Body, Tapping into the DNA.
So all of this physical preparation wasn't just about being healthy. It was about tapping into something so profound, something written right into our very DNA. Even at a super young age, he felt like he had tapped into this ancient past where the human body wasn't just, meat and bones. It was understood as divine, a vessel of consciousness, a temple of breath, a literal bridge between the physical world we walk in and the cosmic universe above. And even when none of his friends could relate to these heavy concepts, he could physically feel the sacredness of it all. He began to hear what the text beautifully calls the body's whispers. He realized early on that health isn't just physical maintenance, it's intrinsically spiritual. He realized that movement isn't just exercise, it's a form of active meditation. And breath isn't just oxygen exchange. Breath is our ultimate connection to the universe. These profound internal feelings were early hints, like little whispers from the universe, guiding him long before his conscious mind even knew how to listen.
And this brings us to Part 3, the body as the path, the ultimate takeaway.
This really is the climax of our explainer today. What is the ultimate takeaway from that brown paper folder handed over all those years ago? Well, it turns out the father's greatest lesson wasn't about teaching specific yoga philosophies or the mechanics of meditation. The greatest lesson was teaching his sons to trust the body. He taught him that the body remembers. It guides. The core thesis of this entire source text is just a massive paradigm shift. The body is not some meat sack that you have to drag along on your spiritual journey. The body isn't separate from the spiritual path. The body is the spiritual path. It is the very doorway through which all higher consciousness must travel.
To really capture the gravity of this, the text shares this profound quote referred to as Zoran's whisper. Listen to this. "Traveler, your father gave you more than exercises. He gave you the first map of the body's wisdom. The postures were ancient, the breath was eternal, and your body remembered long before your mind understood." It's incredibly powerful, isn't it? The physical body has an intelligence, a memory, and a wisdom that completely predates our intellectual understanding.
So let's tie this all together. Why does this matter for you and your own learning? Well, this whole story isn't just a cute anecdote about exercise. It is a masterclass in preparation. Those childhood habits prepared his body to sit properly for meditation. His excellent health actively supported the rigors of the spiritual path. When he finally discovered real yoga, it felt instantly familiar to his muscles. And because of this solid physical foundation, his inner senses were able to awaken easily, without any resistance. Ultimately, it reveals that his father didn't just teach him stretches. He was a vital part of a greater destiny, laying the absolute foundation for his son's spiritual life.
And that brings us to our final thought for this explainer. I want to leave you with a question that I hope really sits with you long after we finish today. If the body remembers, what is yours trying to tell you? Think about your own physical habits, your postures, your aversions, your comforts. What ancient maps are stored right there in your DNA, just waiting for your mind to finally catch up and understand? Thank you guys so much for joining me to unpack this incredible source text today. Keep learning, keep trusting your body as a guide, and I'll see you next time.